Hello, hello. Good day. Wait, let's try something. All right, we should be safe this time. How are we today? Let's get all live and set up. Let's get all set up. Okay. I'm early. I'm actually early for once, but hold on. Good morning. What's taking so long for this thing to load? There we go. There we go. Finally. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. On this transfer deadline day. Afternoon. Good evening. All right. Okay, how are we? How are we all doing? Good? Good? Don't worry. We will talk about it all. Patience. There's only one David Beckham. Patience. Good day. Look, to preface all of this while you are all here before more get in, the all likelihood is that nothing happens today, just for what it's worth. That we get Ugarte and McTominay sold and nothing else happens, but we'll see. We will see. We'll talk about all of it. We will talk about it all. Yes, welcome. Make sure to like the stream. Make sure to do all of that. Get it going. Oh, no data, so that everybody can see it. And then we'll get straight into it. And we'll talk about Jadon Sancho first. For sure, we will talk about Jadon Sancho first. Yeah, just letting everybody get in here. You miss Phil. Welcome. What a day. All right. You take 3P for Anthony. I know. Well, this is what happens on deadline day, right? And that's why you got to be sort of careful, because everything goes nuts. And there's little things like that even do have truth that like might pop up for 2 seconds and then get shut down. Yeah. Why would Bayindir start against Liverpool? Why would Romano not start? I understand it hasn't progressed, that he said. We'll talk about all of it. Okay. Let's get started then, eh? What do we think? Good time? Good time to get going? It's not knowing something. So, all right, let's start with Jadon Sancho. We might as well, because this is where everything begins in Jadon Sancho, right? So obviously, the Jadon Sancho situation, as we know, he preferred to leave. He would prefer to leave. He would prefer to depart. He would prefer to change to a different club. Juventus never came up with a obligation, despite some of the reports that jumped the gun on that. They never came up with an obligation for Jadon Sancho and made the deal not viable. Now, here's the issue with this deal being offered by Chelsea as it stands right now. It's an initial loan proposal. That's it. Nothing else. Yeah, I'll do a stream tonight at the deadline as well if I have time. But it's just a It's just a loan proposal, and that's it. That's all you got. United didn't want to accept that from Juventus. Leon Pauno, any truth on Carney, mate? He's needed. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a minute. We'll get to that for sure, because obviously it's linked to all of this. The issue is that, why loan Jadon Sancho out, have him play for and help another team, and then come back next year and we do this all again? How does that help us, especially a Premier League rival in England? I mean, what is the point of that? What does that do for us? We weren't wanting to do it with Dortmund. We didn't want to do it with Juventus. Why would we want to do it with Chelsea? I don't understand that, and that, so we haven't wanted to do that. Could they, just to get something done, accept this? Maybe, in the end. It seems like they're sort of maybe more willing just to get something done than they were before, to let it go. He's not going to cause problems as he stays. As Ten Hag said, he's still training with the club and all of that kind of thing and everything. I get that. So, yeah, I'd be, they've made their stance very clear to a lot of people, through a lot of reports, through a lot of briefings, through a lot of journalists, etc., that they did not want to just loan Jadon Sancho out. But they might have to. I guess that's the thing. They might have to in the end. If there's nothing else, then they might have to. But if you're just loaning him, then... if you're just loaning him, then we don't get paid back. Then I would see it being sensible if it opened the door to bringing someone else in. But then why not send him to Juventus instead? That would be better. Yeah, that would be better. So we're just going to have to see. We're just going to have to see here. I don't see the point of just loaning him, personally. I get it. You might save a little bit of money on his wages. If they pay for his wages plus a fee, then... then that's good. Jason Sancho. I mean, can you get his name right if you're going to do that report? So, yeah, maybe it just saves some money, 10, 15 million. But does that allow us to get somebody else in the door? Then it would make a little bit more sense. So, but honestly, I'd be disappointed if they let it happen without a purchase. Because that's been the stance all summer. Hi, Tubbs. Good to see you, as always. That has been the stance all summer, is that they wanted a sale, and now it's the final day. So you could have done this a lot earlier in the window if you were just doing a loan. So I would put that as a mistake. If they end up loaning Sancho to Chelsea, I would put it down as a mistake. I think it was a miss in this window if they end up just doing a a dry loan for Chelsea, unless it lets us get another player in, right? So then obviously there's been this kind of talk here. Jadon Sancho's move to Chelsea is a standalone deal. We've heard about Raheem Sterling, and now we've heard about Chukwuemeka. Now, there's other reports that it's not moving, all of that. I guess it's kind of strange here, because could we take him on loan? If we were to loan Sancho, would they just loan Chukwuemeka and it's not a purchase? Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. They are interested in him. They have been interested in him. I would be okay with a loan for Jadon Sancho if it allowed us to get somebody else in the door, right? If it allowed us to, if the money saved meant we get something else in, even on a loan, then I would take it. Then I would be happy with it. If it allowed us to get like Chukwuemeka, then I would take it. So maybe that's their view, is that it's opening the door to being able to do something else in the market. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of I saw the thing from Alex Crook. You're gonna need others too to say that. But if that is the case, that they're willing to now accept a loan, then it's going to be, then I think they're gonna have to There's going to have to be some other upside, I would say, because otherwise you just get into this again in a year. And if you're not gaining anything out of it, then you're just losing a player for nothing. Yeah, we will see. So that is unfortunately... Yeah, that's unfortunately... Look, we did it. We loaned him to Dortmund, and then we've been stuck with this all year. And the thing is that he's not downing tools. He's not downing tools. And Ten Hag commented on it today in his press conference. What did he say? I'll find his quote, right? What did he say? Let me try to find that really quick. Let me try to find the quote because I thought it was a good quote. I thought it was a good quote. Here. Yeah, I mean, he even said he thought he would stay, to be fair, if I'm not mistaken. What he says he's playing on a squad. We're happy with him. We need a good squad. We need depth. We have to play many games until January after the break. We play every third day. So we need options. He even said, you know, I think when asked that as far as he knew he would stay. Now, obviously, managers say what they're going to say, right? And that is what it is. He's not going to say otherwise as well, yes. But my point being that he's training in the squad, right? He has not been kicked out of the team. So you are just losing an option. You are just losing an option if you loan Sancho out without really any upside if you do that. The other thing that he said, which confirms what I shared, is all this stuff about Scott McTominay and the comments from McTominay, from Ten Hag on McTominay. You know, I've made this very, very clear, and here I'll put my tweet up from what he said about that. What he said here, he confirms. He says, "I've got mixed feelings. Could preferred not to lose him," and you know, this is what I'm saying is that it's just a fact. He preferred not to lose him. He didn't want to lose him. He did not want to trade McTominay at that time. If it was up to him, he would have kept McTominay and gotten Ugarte separately. But it did hold things up for some time. So, you know, that was a part of what happened. That was a part of what slowed things down. That's just the reality of it. But obviously, we're going to have to see with Sancho. So as it stands now, here's how it is, as I understand it. Chelsea have submitted their offer on a loan as of now. They're still potentially looking at other players that could be involved in it. For United, maybe, you know, they're likely not to be the same deal. There's people saying that Sterling has to leave for them to be able to get him in. He could go to Arsenal. It's kind of slowed down him to us. They have to sort out a whole payment thing. So it's still complicated. It's still complicated because they've got to sort this all out in order to make a deal happen. I'm 50-50 at the moment because there's obviously a lot more happening, and Chelsea have actually submitted a bid at this point in time for a loan. So there's a chance, but we're gonna find out if they're willing to take this type of loan or not at this point in time. Because they weren't before. They've been pretty insistent. And they just turned down the talks with Juventus yesterday for not including an obligation. Let me ask you guys something. Sancho loan without obligation to Chelsea. Are you for this or not? I want to know, actually, like, do people want this or not? Because my view is it's pointless. And my view is, why did they do this, turn it down yesterday if they wanted this? You know, why turn it down? To me, that says that they're I just don't get it. I guess I just don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it. Strengthening a rival, leaves us short on the left wing. Correct. I mean, let's just imagine someone else gets injured in the front line. You know, I'd rather see Sancho play than Antony. We've talked about that before. And we'll talk about Antony in a minute. Better than all our wingers, yeah. Well, I don't think so, but still. Well, yeah, it depends, Stitchy Rich, on for sure. It depends on that, on the wages and things like that, too. Sancho prefers Chelsea. I understand. But he also would have preferred Dortmund, and they were willing to offer this earlier in the season, too. They even were willing to offer an option. They were willing to do a loan plus option at 25 million or something like that. 25 million. I mean, you know, why didn't we do that then? That would have been a better deal. That's why I would consider it a miss in this case if we didn't do that. I think there's a lot more. I think there was better options. But if he stays, it opens up the door. Yeah, so no. So most people, of course, want... there we go. Most people don't think there's a point in him leaving if it's not on an obligation, right? Most people want it on a loan. Now, if it was a loan and we get a loan player back too, then I think people would be much more interested in it. A 25 million would be about break even on him. Yeah, 25 million would be about break even on him. Yeah, we paid Chelsea a lot of money for Mason Mount. They could do better. I mean, they're buying players left and right. Like, come on. So, yes. In terms of, just very quickly, in terms of why no announcement for Ugarte, as I shared before, it's just logically the way that United do things. We probably needed Scott McTominay to get done first, or at least to reach kind of the final stage, and it was a little bit behind our deal in terms of, you know, he just traveled yesterday, right? So he's probably doing his medical and signing today, and so then once that happens, I think it will all go through. So that should be all fine, but we kind of expected that. Unfortunately, then I guess it sounds like Ugarte will not be registered in time for Liverpool. Well, because the registration deadline passed 3 hours ago, right? Is not registered in time for Pool, but I did not expect him to sign or stay or play really on Sunday anyway. He hasn't had a whole preseason. I think I said that yesterday. He is a fit player and all that, but I think over the 2 weeks, it's just going to give him a better chance to start in his first game after the break. So it is what it is. Unfortunately, I wish he had been able to play yet. Yeah, I mean, people saying that don't know whether he's match fit or not. They don't. But it's just an obvious expectation that he's not match fit because he hasn't played in over a month. You know, so hopefully he can get into, you know, it might be a good thing, the international break, because he can train, he can go to Uruguay and play, right? He could play for Uruguay during the international break and get his fitness up. There's no downside to that. And then when he comes back, he might have, you know, two starts under his belt. He's a starter for Uruguay. Are they having games in does anybody know that? Is Uruguay having games? They should, right? During the international break. Yeah, so they've got one on... What? How do they have a game on Sunday? That doesn't make any sense. Friday and Tuesday next week. Yeah, World Cup qualifiers. So they've got a game on Friday and they've got a game on Tuesday. Yeah, I know. Ugarte is extremely fit, so I'm not concerned about that either. That's why I'm saying people are making that assumption. But yes. Yeah. Friday and Tuesday. He will get his fitness up. He will play for Uruguay most likely, and when he comes back, he should be good to go. Yeah. So that's good. I'm totally fine with that. I don't think there's no issues with Napoli. There's no issues with Napoli and McTominay and Osimhen and all of that. I don't know of any issues there. Nobody has said any issues. Yeah. I haven't heard anything on what the feeling is about this loan offer from Chelsea yet. And what it means for United. But they haven't announced him yet. I don't know why they haven't announced him yet. It's just, sometimes it just takes time, these things. So, yeah, that is that. As I said with Chukwuemeka, the issue is that... hang on a second. Sorry, give me one moment. Okay. Yeah. So the basic understanding that I have is that if there were to be a loan, United would ideally get somebody. That would be ideal. You know, it's obviously fluctuating at the moment, and things are just changing by the second here on this. But ideally, if they were to do a loan, I think they would still want to get somebody in the door from Chelsea, whether it be Chukwuemeka. That's probably why they had those talks, because Sterling they're interested in, and they're still interested in him, but I think it's just too complicated. So that led them to probably asking and talking about Chukwuemeka. Now, the difficulty with Chukwuemeka is he would probably be coverage. We just signed a 6. But he could rotate with Kobbie Mainoo. Now, would United want an option in that? Yes. Would the player be interested in that? I'm not sure. That's an issue, right? And so that's kind of the difficulties in all of this. Are there any other players that United might be interested in at Chelsea? That's a possibility to think about. I mean, Nani Madueke, I think United would take. They had interest in him. I do know that they had interest in him. They tried to sign him even years ago, but they did have interest in Nani Madueke. He had wanted out. I don't think there's any chance of Malagusto leaving. I don't think there's any. Cole Palmer's not going to happen. Chalobah, we don't really have a need for anymore. He's a center back, right back. We don't need that. We have like 3 of those now. So, you know, the only other one I could think of is Madueke, who was sort of going to leave or on the verge of leaving and would actually be a good player, but then of course, you know, he had his issues. Cucurella or Cucurella or Chilwell were interested, but we've already kind of told. Well, that's the thing. Madueke then played, gets a hat trick. He's probably not going to leave. Those would be okay. I would take Cucurella at this point in time as a left back. You know, I would take him if United, but they've kind of already briefed people that they weren't going to get a left back this window. Now, they also briefed people that they weren't going to accept just a loan for Sancho. So if they do end up accepting a loan for Sancho, maybe nothing's off the table, right? Maybe that opens the door for something else. And that's the difference with deadline days. If you start making compromises on some of the things that you've said before, then you might compromise in other areas too. So maybe Cucurella would be good. Is it Cucurella or Cucurella? I always want to say it, like actually try to pronounce it properly, and now I feel like for some reason that's wrong. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. Do we need a winger if Sancho leaves more than we need a left back? Okay, I have it right. Cucurella. When I say Cucurella, it's correct. Okay. So yeah, those are kind of the options: Madueke, Cucurella, Chukwuemeka, and Sterling, and all complicated for different reasons. But hopefully, I would be okay with a loan for Sancho if we get one of those. Let's pull that with you guys, okay? If loan for Sancho, who would you want back? Now, the answer is going to be pretty obvious here, but I am curious. Chukwe? If we could get one of these players in, who would you guys prefer? That I'm curious about. If there was a player. I think most people are going to say Chukwuemeka, but Madueke is probably going to be pretty popular too. Cucurella's popular. Not bad. Come on. We all need a we all need a left back. I think everybody knows we need a left back pretty bad, huh? The Chukwuemeka would be complicated because he'd be coming in essentially as like a 6th choice midfielder, and what kind of deal would that be? Madueke, though, would be a good player, but I doubt that there's any chance of that. Like, honestly, I don't know that there's any chance of any of these players right now. That's part of the problem. Sterling is the most realistic in terms of leaving Chelsea, like wanting to and all that, but him getting his whole payoff and everything is crazy. I don't know how that's going to work. Any take on what the plan is for Sekou Kone? Yeah, I think he'll play with the young players, and I think he'll get into the first team by the end of the season. He'll start doing the training probably by January, February with the team. Why Rabiot? Why Rabiot? I don't want Rabiot. I don't want Rabiot for 3 years. What are we going to do? Pay 10 million sign-on fee for Rabiot, which is going to eat up any savings we make on Jadon Sancho, and then what? And then we're stuck with him for years. No further signings for Arsenal, so not Sterling. So Sterling comes to us. So if Sterling's not going anywhere, then can Sancho even join? Because Rabiot's 10 million a year. It's just going to be another Eriksen 1 year, and then he's dead on his feet, and we're stuck with a player we don't need. That's what I think. I wouldn't take it. We need a midfielder next year. I'm not saying he's not better than Eriksen today. I'm just saying I don't like it. I don't like the deal. Has nothing to do with Sancho, Murphy. Has literally nothing to do with Sancho. It's about the pointlessness of signing an expensive older player like that. Rabiot's not playing left back in the Premier League just because he did so under Allegri, okay? There's no reason to sign Rabiot to play him at left back. That's crazy. I think the chances of someone coming in are low after Ugarte. It's pretty much, I think right now it's low because every one of these is difficult. Every one of these is difficult to do. So people would prefer Chukwuemeka, then Madueke, then Cucurella. So if Sterling isn't going to Arsenal, then what? Then what happens? Does anybody actually understand Chelsea enough to answer this question? Because I don't. What did I say? What I was told yesterday that I said at the end of the night, just the last thing I said on all of this, was that they were still in talks with Chelsea, and Sterling stuff is still ongoing, but I have no idea how it'll work and what they need to do to make it work. And I still feel that way. Do they need to move Sterling in order to bring Sancho in? I've seen some people report that. Do they need to move Sterling in order to get Sancho in? Does anybody know that? I've watched plenty of Rabiot, Murphy. We've been linked to him for 7 years. I've been watching him since 2019 and before that. I really wanted him back then, for what it's worth. I know they just offered a loan for Sancho, but can they actually execute that? And then what about Osimhen? How does that all work? Does anybody actually know? Yeah, maybe that's why they can only do a dry loan. Yeah, those are things I actually don't know. So in a minute, while we're kind of still waiting, because I'm just going to keep going until I get news or something else comes in for just a little bit, I want to get into some of the other things that we wanted to do for this weekend. A dry loan is just a loan straight, nothing else. James, the way they do business, they probably can do whatever they want. Well, I know, but didn't they just get denied on the whole hotel thing, on all this other shit? And isn't that going to screw them over financially? I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, isn't it? A no-lube loan. Yeah, it is a no-lube loan because Nobody wants it. Yeah. But he can't sell the hotels, like, by UEFA. Oh, I see. I see. By UEFA, not by PSR. Okay, so they're fine on the PSR front. Got it. Interesting. Yeah, Lindelof is set to stay, it seems. Yeah. And then it kind of makes sense. He doesn't have the best options. He wanted to pick something next year. Okay, so while we wait to find out more on Sancho, let's move on to our usual thing for kind of the pre-match, while we see, and I'm just keeping an eye on any messages, because what we're waiting for right now is any further news on the Sancho offer that was made, any further news on any players United might want to take back, and as well the Ugarte and McTominay announcements. So we'll keep an eye on all of that stuff. In the meantime, this was the team you all voted for last week, although I actually think I have this backwards, right? I think everybody would have hoped to still wanted Mazraoui on the left. This was the team everybody voted for last week, and I don't think it changed from the team that everybody voted for in the first week. I think it's been the same each time. So we're going to do this again and see if it changes at all. Now, I'm not expecting much change, and this isn't predictions. This is what do you want, okay? This is what do you want. Jason, the reason they were able to sell to their sister club is because they're not in the same competitions. It has nothing to do with it. We could buy from Nice, but we're not in the same competitions. That was the issue. We were in the same competition. If we weren't, then it wouldn't have been an issue. Chelsea deal for Osimhen is extremely difficult. Yeah, Alan Shearer and Ten Hag have beef, yeah. So this is what we voted for last week, and the week before. This was not what you think, okay? This is what you want, not what you predict, what you want. I want to make that very, very clear, because the whole purpose of doing this week in and week out is to see the opinions of chat and watchers and see how they change, right? As to whether, you know, the view of the whole, like, everything changes. So we'll start on the right. Has anybody changed their mind on, we'll start with Ahmad versus Garnacho. Has anybody changed their mind on Ahmad or Garnacho on the right side? I have a feeling that more people are going to vote for Garnacho on the left over Rashford this time. I still completely disagree with that for the reasons I've said many times, but I have a feeling people will vote for Garnacho on the left. Though I think it's a big mistake. It's close on the left, on the right. It's close. Kadioglu is out for 6 weeks already? Ahmad was poor last week. He did score a goal, though. It did make up for it, but he was pretty poor. He was pretty poor. I would like to see Garnacho get in the team. Personally, I don't think Garnacho will start because of other reasons, but neither here nor there right now. And not bad reasons. Don't take what I just said and run with it. There's nothing bad about Alejandro Garnacho. Before the goal, Ahmad wasn't doing much, but he was also being used wrong. Yeah, well, my biggest problem is I think we need to see better dynamics in the attack. You know, Rashford was free in that moment. Ahmad didn't find him. Rashford created 2 chances in the first game for Mount and Garnacho. They didn't finish. I wonder if he had 2 assists and a goal based on that pass from Ahmad. If those small outcomes would change the way people view the performances so far. Those are some of those fine margins. Plus, it's Liverpool. I think that not playing Rashford against one of the top 6 would be a mistake. But all right, so people are still choosing on Ahmad and Garnacho, Ahmad over Garnacho on the right. Let's see if this changes now on the left. I'm curious. This is one of the only questions that I actually have that I think has a closeness in terms of this voting. Garnacho should have finished that chance. Come on. If Rashford was in that position and missed that chance, you would not be letting him off the hook for it. There's no way you would. Be realistic. There's nobody is letting Rashford off the hook for missing that chance. This is about 50-50. Yeah. It's really, really close to 50-50. Frankly, I don't particularly care who it is at this point because I don't think it's going to work if we don't fix the left side in general. But it's against Trent and against Liverpool. You play Sancho? Interesting. Yeah, Rashford does have a good record against Liverpool and against Trent in the past as well. But I did kind of expect it to flip just ever so slightly. I think people just have it wrong. They're not remembering Garnacho last season on the left. He wasn't good there. That's why he ended up on the right. But we'll see it again. Garnacho's been much better as an impact sub on the left. But I did expect people would vote a little bit more for Garnacho this week. Yeah, I really like Garnacho on the right. I really like Garnacho on the right. That's why I think it's kind of like, what's the word for it? I don't like shoehorning him back to the left where he actually struggled. If you remember the start of last season, we had all that drama with Garnacho where he wasn't doing well on the left and you had all these fan channels like going after him and saying shit and attacking him and saying he wasn't ready and he should be sold and all that. That was all when he was playing on the left. And then when he swapped to the right around Christmas time, he really took off. Yeah, Garnacho will get better and better, but I think he's been doing better on the right. All right, I'll end it there. It's about what I expected, but very close. So we're gonna change it for this week and say the chat voted for Alejandro Garnacho to start on the left. Until we have an overlapping fullback on the left, whoever plays left wing will struggle. I agree. That is going to be the case. I can go back through the prior stream, Jonathan, and check it out. I can go back. Yeah. The midfield three we don't have to vote on because we don't have any options. With Ugarte not being registered, with Ugarte not being registered, then it is what it is. It's not a lazy excuse. Højlund will be back after the international break, but maybe not right away. Yeah, it is what it is. So the midfield three picks itself. I think I'll ask if people would still prefer Mazraoui on the left. I still would. I still think it's been awful, honestly. Not because Dalot is bad. Not because Dalot is bad, but because he cannot play with his left foot, and it doesn't suit him. There's the poll. Because it really just doesn't suit him. That's just my opinion. That's why I'm really not. What's going on with my polls? There we go. I really would like to see Mazraoui on the left side. I just have not liked it at all in possession with Dalot on the left. In build-up, it's okay, but as soon as we get forward, it doesn't go anywhere for me. Salah is on the right wing, yeah. Yeah, just to overlap. Shaw is supposed to be back after the break, but for how long? That's the question. All right. Mazraoui's still winning this one. Trust Dalot against Salah? Okay. I don't. Let me ask you guys this one. I know nobody's gonna agree to this. Dalot's been good out of possession. He is not in possession. It has nothing to do with him. It's just about the angles. See, that's the thing is like, I'm no hypocrite on this when I talk about the Rashford issue on the left. I don't criticize Dalot as an individual on the left, even though the attacking is poor. I criticize the dynamics of it on the left. It has nothing to do with the player. I'm big on squad dynamics. I don't think it's worked, and I don't think it has anything to do with Dalot's ability. I think it has to do with the dynamics of things. That's great. He did that one cross to Ahmad. When's the next time he got into the opponent's half on the ball after that? Have you seen a single overlap in the first 2 games from the left back position? A single one? No, you haven't. And that's just the dynamics. We just don't do it. I understand City and Arsenal don't always play with left-footed left backs, but we're not City and Arsenal. And when they do, they have, when they don't do that, they have midfielders making those overlapping runs all the time. We rush our attacks and we don't let the team catch up. They dominate possession to where they have so many men in the box. This is my biggest complaint. They push up till they have so many men in the box and surrounding the final third, holding possession. They refuse to counterattack. They attack slowly. Then they start running the midfielders in and making underlaps and overlaps and all sorts of movements. We just go forward. And then if we score, we score. And if we don't, we lose the ball. Let's look at the CB pairing. Lissandro de Ligt. Lissandro Maguire. Or I'm going to add the option of Maguire de Ligt. And only because it is a systemic problem. Only because I think Lissandro's been maybe our worst center back in the first 2 games. But I know why why people still want him to start, and I'm not saying he's not going to start. But, and he should. I'm just saying it is interesting. I think Lissandro's been our worst center back in the first couple of games. Just my opinion. That's not to say he shouldn't start, though, because I don't think that, utilizing small samplings to make those decisions means much. Yeah. Did I spell something wrong? Oh, Leandro and Maguire? Yeah, my bad. Lissandro doesn't have the legs for a center defensive mid. He's too slow. He's far too slow. He did, but who cost us the second goal? Nobody gets penalized for that. I'm not saying Maguire should start, by the way. I would start De Ligt now. I would get De Ligt into the game now. Just to be fair. I would get De Ligt into the game now. But the second goal was far worse, and Maguire wasn't on the pitch, so... there's always a little bit. There's always a tendency for certain players to get a lot more blame, and then in other instances, people don't. Maguire gets a ton of blame for the first goal. That was maybe his fault, maybe not. On the second goal, nobody gets blamed except Maguire somehow. Nobody. Some players just get all the blame, and the second goal, is what it is. It's always individual when it's like Maguire, or it's like who are some other players like that. Obviously Rashford, Maguire. There's like 3 or 4 players that if it's an individual, it's always the individual gets blamed. And if it's anybody else, it's like it sort of just wafts off into the universe and nobody gets blamed for it. Which is sort of funny. All right, well, this was an easy one. Lissandro and De Ligt. We know then that Dalot is going to be on the right and Onana is going to be in goal. Yeah, wafts off like a fart. Yeah, exactly. So this is what people want. I think that it's close. I think that it's going to be Rashford on the left. I think it's going to be Rashford on the left. Like, Lissandro hasn't got blamed for anything, but he's been quite poor in the first couple of games. His passing was bad. He gave the ball away in some bad positions. His positioning was poor. He's the left-sided center back for that second goal. He's the one who's supposed to be organizing the defense to defend the left side of the goal. He wasn't. It is what it is. I want Lissandro to start. I still think he's our best center back. But, I think it is interesting. Some players get a lot more criticism than others. Next week, obviously, you would have Ugarte in here. Not next week, but the final game afterwards, you'd have Ugarte in here. Bruno and Rashford up front. But then what do? We don't have enough midfielders to play a 4-man midfield. You know, yeah, we don't have enough midfielders to do anything else. We have to play forwards. We don't have midfielders, you know. Casemiro's been better. I thought he really faded in the second half of the last game, though. I thought he really, really faded. So this is what the chat voted for. The only difference between this week and week 1 and 2 is Garnacho won by about 3% on this week over Rashford. I don't think that's going to be what happens. I think Rashford will start, but obviously Mount no longer here. We're going to actually play with a striker. We're actually going to things are actually going to change and be a little bit different. I'm excited to see that. I would like to see us attacking. I'd like to see us go for this game. Narrow 10s. I know we've done that, but we don't have any midfielders. We don't have Mason Mount, and we don't have Scott McTominay for this game. We can't play a 4-man midfield. We cannot. Now, how it lines up in game might be a little bit different, but we cannot play a 4-man midfield. Just to shift the discussion a little bit, just on a point, I want to ask you all of your opinions on this. I'm just putting it back to what the team actually was during the last game, not for any other reason. But I want to ask your opinion on this, because this is where I've seen like a lot of different opinions from people in how we play and how we go forward. Let me pull something up really quick. I think Rashford will start, but if he doesn't have a good performance, he'll get dropped soon. Probably, and I'm not saying that he can't be or shouldn't be. Shouldn't have change. I want a left winger in. I've said this before. I want a left winger in because I'd like to see us be able to rotate Rashford properly, not putting Garnacho back on the left where he struggled. I'd like to keep our players in the positions that they're best in, and Garnacho is best on the right. So it's not the same. It's not for the same reason why I say that. I'd like to get I think it doesn't benefit Garnacho to do this, to put him back on the left when he hasn't been as good there. So this was the average positions against Brighton. Okay, you see this? Look at how deep we were again, right? So this is what I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, it was Mount too, right? For most of the game. For the first half anyways. So what we were doing, right, in possession, when you take a look at it, 3-3-4 basically, was this. This is basically our possession. Yeah. Like this is basically our average positions in possession. Now, I'm not a huge fan of that. Like at all. You can see how deep the fullback is in comparison on the left versus the right side. And how we'd want to play is a lot more like this, if I'm not mistaken. Is a lot more like this. Ten Hag's way where he played in the past, where he had like a box midfield with 2 10s or a 9.5 or whatever you'd want to call it. It was more like this, where the fullbacks would get up high, because then you'd have these kind of runs happening, inverted overlaps, inverted, lots of different movements in between with the fullbacks. Sometimes they'd also, a fullback comes in and another midfielder goes forward. But when he played his box midfield at Ajax with the 2 10s, it was a lot more like that. And the first game was more like that. I don't really understand this. And the reason that was kind of happening is because whenever we get the ball, we just kind of launch it into this front four to just run for it, right? And so then they're getting up the pitch, and they're up the pitch, but by the time they're there, it's just like two of them. How many times you see in the attack that there's just Ahmad and just Rashford up there attacking, and everybody else is deep. And then we lose the ball, and of course our line is deep, so they're not able to get up here. The point I was making about City is though that you don't have left-footed fullbacks all the time, and Arsenal as well, when they get possession and they build it up, they're doing this, right? They're getting like way, 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 way up here. And like really, really crowding the opposition out. Obviously, these are too big. It'd be good when we can switch to that tactics board in a week or so. But when City and Arsenal get in possession, they'll get up here. You know, when Pep played without a striker, and when he plays with like an inverted fullback, he'll do this kind of stuff. But they'll get like all the way up here in possession. They'll always do that. You know, they crowd it, and so do Arsenal, and they almost refuse to attack quickly because they let the whole team get in there. So then, yeah, you don't necessarily have a left footer, but you have all these different runs and angles and attacks that can be done. And it's not to say that United cannot do counters, that United can't run quickly. Right, we lose the ball. I agree. You're totally correct. But that is a decision-making process, right? You can attack quickly. And I've referenced this a couple times this week. Arne Slot said it. You can attack quickly, but you have to decide when to and when not to. And for me, that's what Ten Hag has to sort out. If there's players who refuse to hold possession when they're supposed to, bench them. I don't care who it is. That's my concern with Bruno at times, is that he almost sometimes refuses to not go for the direct on-goal play, right? There's times when the counter's on, and there's times when you're 1 against 6. Hold the ball, let the team catch up, slow it down. Don't lose the ball, because you're totally correct. When you lose the ball, you know, it doesn't give the time for everybody to get up. So we're still deep. You know, we're still in this, we're still doing this. And then we lose the ball, so then we're deep. So then, you know, we lose the ball. There's nobody to press. There's only a couple players up here, and the gaps are really big again. That drives me nuts, right? I know it bothers a lot of you as well, and it's like, to me, it's the thing we need to change over anything else. Is in the first game we did it. You know, in the first game we did it. If you look at the Fulham game, in the first game, we did it. You look at it positionally, and I understand that the opponents do different things and all that, but that doesn't matter to teams like City and Arsenal and even Liverpool. They just play their game. But if you look at it wrong button. Sorry. If you look at it against Fulham, the average position was a lot higher in here. The average position was a lot higher. The line was a lot higher. We were getting up higher, you know, and it was better. And then the press works better, and then you can get up into it. And when you lose the ball, you can actually win it back. So it's clear what we want to do. You know, you put Xerxes in this position. You know, yes, you can get him in here, and you can get him in here with Bruno, and you can play runners off of him and all of that. But slow it down, right? Let everybody else get up at times. You don't always have to go quickly. Now, it's against Liverpool, so we probably will play on the break, you know, a number of times. But just slow it down. Just slow it down. Let the team catch up. And then you actually, I mean, the difference when you have this many people forward in pressing and counter-pressing is better. You have more men forward. You're able to suffocate them. That's what these teams do, and that's counter-pressing more than anything else. When you lose it, that you can actually win it back quickly. So hopefully we do that. Anyway, this is the team I think we're going to start with. Not Maguire, but this is the team I think will play against Liverpool, for what it's worth. This is, I think, how we'll line up against Liverpool. Okay, apparently there's a tweet. Is there anything decent in it? News here. I don't see it. Chelsea have put a loan. Oh, that didn't tell us anything new. We knew that. Fabrizio said that a little while ago. It's just confirming a loan proposal. Whale. Yeah. So nothing new. Okay. Fair enough. Here, I'll pull it up anyway, just so. Chelsea have put a loan proposal to United. Okay. So there'll be an article. Let's see if there's anything else in there from United's side about what that includes. How many transfers will Chelsea complete after? I know some people really liked their play against Brighton. I thought there were aspects of it that were very good. I thought the build-up was good. I thought that there was a lot of things that were good. I'm not even that worried about defense because I thought they were deeper. They were individual mistakes as well. It's literally just the attacking dynamics and, rushing the ball forward, things like that, that make a difference. So yeah, what can I say? I get it. There's different views on it. For me, it's just that, if you look at the time in between our attacks, like the moments when we create something, when we create chances, it feels like there's such a long time in between our attempts at goal. It feels like there's a long time in between our attempts at goal. Like I'll show you. This isn't the best measure of it, okay? But look. This isn't the best measure of it. But because there's spots where you can see like shots and things like that too. But look at the like this isn't bad when you look at this, right? Here, this is the part I'm trying to show. This isn't bad. Negotiations ongoing for Sancho after the bid was submitted. This isn't bad, but there's like a lot of big gaps. And I know that that's fairly normal, but it's kind of back and forth 50-50 for most of the game. And like there's no big, high, sustained chance creation. And like the big spikes are, I think, shots. And you can even see that Brighton will get a couple of chances in a row when they usually do it, whereas we get one and then nothing, and then one and then nothing, and then one. And that tends to be kind of how it is that our chances are very sporadic. They're very sparse. They're very all over the place. And that's my biggest thing. So we try to score. We don't. Then we got to go all the way back, win the ball deep, go forward, lose it, go back, forward, lose it, and then we break through one time and get a chance, and it's 10 minutes later. And that's why it's hard for us to win games when we're chasing them, because we're never we're not sustaining those attacks. Let's see. I'm just checking let me just check some things really quick while I'm here to see if I have anything new from anybody. Honestly, my suspicion is that nothing happens, but I guess we'll see. Well, to be fair to Romano on all of this, just to be totally fair, he's an individual journalist. He works for himself. So he doesn't get paid when he doesn't tweet, when he doesn't write, when he doesn't do videos. That's what he gets paid for. It's on a per basis. Jadon Sancho's potential move to Chelsea is not totally dependent on Raheem Sterling moving on. Possible. It still happens even if Sterling stays. Okay. Let's see. So he could. So that was my question earlier, because I don't know anything about how Chelsea work. It's possible it still happens even if Sterling stays. They've made a loan offer. So it's not totally dependent. Yeah, look, Romano's an individual. It's the same for me, okay? I don't make anything. I'm not employed. I don't have a salary to do any of this. If I don't make content that has ads or I don't do anything like that, I don't make $1, right? Any time that I spend talking to people, building relationships, working, researching, preparing, all of that, I don't make any money. It's the same with Romano. I'm not comparing myself to him. I'm just saying that's the reason. You know, Ornstein is employed. He's got a job. He's getting paid for it, and so he doesn't have to. You know, he has an amount that he has to put out. But you know, you've seen Laurie Whitwell, I think, put just a few articles out the whole summer. You know, he's still getting paid, but he's, you know, that's the job. So I get that. I wish I was on the payroll. That would be nice. Yeah, I wish. That would be nice. Yeah, let's take a look. Somebody pointed out Fulham. That chart. Look at the chart against Fulham. Look at this. This is good. Big spike, big spike, big spike, spike, spike. These were those chances, one after another, and then a huge chances, and then a big one, and then we finally, like, we tried to score and we still somehow didn't manage. Most games we look more like Fulham did. Random one, random one, random one. But this was amazing. This was like, this is what I want to see against the smaller teams. I want to see this. You know, that we controlling it, but it's like spike, 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 chance, 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 you know? It doesn't even have to be huge, but that's what I want to see. That's what I want us to see in terms of controlling the game and continuing to push. Yeah, and there's a graph somewhere else I'll try to find at another time. It shows like the events, like the shots, like bang, 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 how long in between. Ornstein? No, don't bait. Ornstein? Yep. What's he said? All right. Oh, wow. Johnny Cardoso to Tottenham. That's interesting. Chelsea expected to strike deal. No formal agreements in yet, but situation advancing that way. Okay. Here, I'll get it on the screen for you. 1 sec. Chelsea expected to strike a deal. Here we go. David Ornstein. Now, is it just a loan? Let me look in the article. Because it doesn't say. Doesn't say what type of deal it is yet. So we still don't know, like, what kind of deal it is. Yeah, there's nothing in the article. I didn't want to put the article on the screen. I really hope we don't do a loan if it's just a loan and nothing else. I think it's so pointless. That's my opinion, but we've been looking at other players all week. That's the thing. Okay, just to be clear, we have been looking at other players all week. Yeah, it does say sign, doesn't it? I mean, but that could be a loan. You could agree to sign a player on loan too. Like, we've been looking at players with Chelsea all week to take back. Sterling, Chukwuemeka, etc. And we've talked about those names. We were interested in Chilwell a long time ago, but he's injured all the time. Cucurella, maybe, right? So we've been interested in players from Chelsea all week. So I would like to see us try to get something done on this. I would like to. Ten Hag's preference is Sancho leagues. Of course, it's his preference. We already know that. That's fine. His preference is to leave too. So everybody's in agreement. If it's a loan and we get a loan back, I'm for it. So I'm really interested to see how this develops. But I think everybody's on the same page, right? You all agree? Are we all on the same page on this? We're all on the same page on this. If we let Sancho go on loan, we'd like to get something back. for the season. Right? I mean, in general, I would like to get something back if it's a sale too, but if we let him go on loan, we'd like to get something back at least from this. I mean, I think most people are in agreement on that. Because I don't think loaning him to Chelsea for no reason, for nothing, is good. Yeah, send him to Juventus otherwise. Or send him to Dortmund again. I don't care. Loan him somewhere else if we're just going to loan him. That's my opinion. Wait, he edited it? Why did he edit it? I'm confused. Oh. There wasn't anything. Yeah, it cuts our wage bill for what? We're still paying then a 14 million a year amortization cost for nothing. No, he didn't remove sign. It says Chelsea expected to strike deal with Manchester United to sign Jadon Sancho. I'm not saying he shouldn't go. I think almost everybody would want him to go, and the fact that he wants to and the club wants to makes sense. But why? Like, if it's just a loan, why? I can't get on board with that. I think it would be the first mistake they've made this window if it's just a loan. I think it would be the first mistake that they've actually made in the transfer window if they just loan him. Keen to, wants to. Winger wants to. Okay, whatever. I don't know why that matters, but hey. We haven't made moves that are just financial, though, the whole window either. Like, we've done smart moves that, yes, benefit us financially, but are also good for the squad and good for the team. So this would be the first. But here, I hear you. I hear you about, like, maybe we just want him gone. But my point is we could have done that months ago and gotten better deals. There were deals from Dortmund on the table. I didn't see you take him off for a guest appearance. Sorry, LA. Just easier with the time that I have. Chukwuemeka. Emeka. Got it. So, yeah, I mean, there were better offers on the table, in my opinion, before. Like, just a few more dollars doesn't really make a difference to me. But then again, if it's like 15 million on fee, there's no way, right? There's no way they're doing the loan in 15 million. Oh, no worries, LA. I will come back on your podcast, though. Don't worry about that after. Yeah, maybe a youth player or something. Like something back. We got to get something back for this. There needs to be something. I mean, I'm coping here that I'd take practically anything. Cardoso to Spurs is a really good move for them. Cardoso's like very much a tactical hype player this summer, isn't he? Yeah. Like Dortmund were offering a loan with option. There's no problems with the Ugarte deal. Second. Just responding to something. It's not important. It's not important. Yeah, interesting. I did the poll earlier, and I think most of you would like to take Chuck, but yeah. Spurs have made some smart moves, but then again, I don't trust Tacticos. I don't trust all of you, and I consider many of them to be my friends. I talk to a lot of the guys on Twitter doing tactics stuff, and I I don't trust you guys. I don't trust you guys. I've said it before. You know, we talk about like Sofyan Amrabat. I told you that people at United had big doubts on him. And people were hyping him up. I mean, all you have to do is look at people who don't want Ugarte and look at their history about Amrabat to say, maybe we trust the club on this. maybe we trust the club on this. Because you know, that's just how I see it. That's my view. If you disagree with my opinions, yeah. If you disagree with my opinions, then so be it. But I base it on what I understand from the club. Yeah. Do we trust the club on Sancho? Yeah, it's not about like if they decide to move Sancho on, I trust them on that. It's more about the meta decision itself of like the not getting anything in return than it is about Sancho himself if they move him. But what if they don't? What if they go through all of this effort and all of this talk and they do everything and in the end they don't accept the deal and Sancho stays? And what if that was the plan all along? No, it's not. I'm confident we'll be interested in Wharton next year, as long as he has a good season, of course. So here's one of the things to just explain in terms of like transfers when you get towards the end of the window. You don't have to complete everything before the deadline. You need to be able to submit a deal sheet before the deadline and get it locked in, okay? So we've already done that on Ugarte. That's why you don't have to worry about it. We've already done it on Ugarte. We've already done it on McTominay. The deal sheets are in. They're submitted. That's not the problem. So everything just has to be finalized after that. It's the same thing with any of these deals. And that's why especially loans could be pretty easy to get done in the final hours, is because they're not that complicated. A deal sheet on a loan is very simple. So there's a lot of options. You don't have to have the medical done before the deadline. No. There's a lot you don't have to do before the deadline. That doesn't mean the deal's like you submit the deal sheets and something goes wrong in the medical, you just cancel the deal. The deadline is like then you have a certain amount of hours and a certain number of days to get the rest of the paperwork all lined up and done and in. After the deadline. The deadline is like you cannot be making deals after the deadline. Those agreements have to be locked in. This is what we're paying, this is what we're buying, this is what it is. Then you finish everything afterwards. If it goes wrong after that, that's different. You know, that's a different that's different. It can still fall through afterwards. But yeah. Yeah, so we're not getting a lot of specifics, but I think it's because... Here, hold on one second. Okay. All right. So, as I understand then, basically, most of this stuff right now is coming from Chelsea and Sancho's side. Just for what it's worth. Most of the stuff that's coming out right now is coming from Chelsea and Sancho's side. Just put it that way to start. United aren't really saying anything. The clubs are engaged in pretty direct talks over this. So we'll see. United have not said like anything. Yeah. It's mostly coming from the Chelsea and Sancho side at the moment. So we'll see. I'm not saying that means it's not going to happen. But, you know, if you read like Ornstein, that makes a lot of sense when you read Ornstein's things saying Chelsea are expected to strike deal with Manchester United. Most of it's coming from their side at the moment. A little bit of pressure. The player wants the move. Chelsea want the move. I think there's a bit of pressure being put on United to agree to this loan deal. I think there's quite a bit of pressure being put on United to agree to this loan deal when maybe it's not necessarily their ideal scenario. Yeah, they are in discussions. They are working on things. You assume not much will come out until something's done. Exactly. So the people who are talking are not necessarily the people in the room at the moment. You know, I say in the room metaphorically because it's not really how it works necessarily. But yeah, so I think it'll be more like when they get when something wraps up, a Ugarte announcement will happen. Just be patient. When something wraps up, then they'll like, yeah, I don't know. So briefly, for a little while there was interest in United. Just there's been a few things that were like unlikely, but United have been interested in towards the end of the window. Just to be clear, and that's why I'm wondering if it affects anything in this Chelsea deal. This is information, and I meant to talk about it earlier. This isn't all likely to happen or anything like that now. But, you know, as I understood it, United were interested in potentially, potentially still having a discussion with Everton about Braithwaite. They probably checked in, and there's nothing to be done there. They were also interested in a young winger, and my ears definitely perked up when there was some talk of potentially Antony and Eriksen going to Rabiot. We've been looking to see if we can loan Antony all summer. The reason it's not happening is because he's refusing to leave at this point in time. Aside from the fact there's not a lot of clubs interested in him, that he's refusing to leave. But United were kind of open to, as I gather it, getting another young winger or forward in, because I think they view they need one more winger in the long run, right? That's why they're open to the Raheem Sterling thing. They need one more winger. Well, you know, the reason why, MK, is because Anthony's people talk to people quite directly and brief stuff. Doesn't mean it wasn't true, but, you know, his people have been shutting down stuff all summer. But we need another winger, because if Sancho leaves or is not counted on, which essentially he isn't, there's just Rashford, Garnacho, and Ahmad. And they're not all that good, and they're all not all that proven at the moment. I say they're not all that good at the moment in terms of current form. Nobody's like lighting up the world right now, right? And they're not that proven. Behind Rashford, there's not a lot of experience. We need another winger. And so they were open to that. And that's why I think, you know, there was the openness to Sterling, openness to Madueke, and there's a couple other young wingers they were looking at that they've watched they've been watching for a long time, that if it was plausible that they would have done it. And so my ears were perking up a little bit with, like, if we can move Sancho and Antony, could we go get, but there's just not enough time, and there's difficulty with that. But certainly I'm thinking next summer with a couple of names already. I talked about some of them back in, I think, December, about certain wingers and young players that they were looking at for wide players. Remember, they did really like Michael Olise. And but just the finances and the difficulty of the situation meant they couldn't go for him. But they're still very much looking at a winger. And it's too late now, probably. That's why I'm thinking with Chelsea. Like, is there any way to get someone out of Chelsea, a young forward out of Chelsea? They would be interested, I think. I'm trying to remember who. I did a video in December, and I mentioned a bunch of names at the time. Like I mentioned Nusa way back when, okay? As a player that United were watching. They were looking at him. I don't think he's still necessarily on the table, but they were looking at him. There was 2 or 3 other young wingers, like under the radar players. Thalis, Real Betis's right wing, Asane Diao. Yeah, and that perked my ears up because of the links between Betis and Antony and all of that. You know, those are names that I've kept an eye on for sure. Just for and I would keep keeping an eye on for the future. Knew someone to Leipzig, yeah. I don't see a Hurst tweet, my friend. Okay. What am I missing? Oh, Manchester United are not looking to bring anyone else in unless Chelsea come up with a player that appeals to them as part of the Jadon Sancho transfer. Right. So that's the point, right? Is that could we get somebody in, you know, separately that all the other deals are pretty much off the table. But this is what we've been talking about. Yeremy Pino, yeah, that was another name. He had a bad injury. Marcus Edwards, not that young anymore from Sporting. There's a bunch of names. But this is what we were discussing, right? Is that with a loan to Sancho, is there somebody else? Niepen, the Norwegian, he's not really a winger, but that's someone to look at in the future. He said we won't get Chukwuemeka. So the issue with that is that I'm guessing they offered him as just a direct loan. Does it say? Or is it the player didn't want the move? Yeah, Pino is too small, and he had a bad injury too. Yeah, Niepen is definitely someone we're interested in. But yeah, we're looking for somebody. Like that's my point, is we're open to something. We're open to something from Chelsea in terms of a player that could come back from this, right? And so that's kind of been my take on it, what I'm gathering. And so it seems like that's where it all stands. If we could summarize our window now, like what could happen: Ugarte in, Scott out, and then Sancho to Chelsea. Can we get somebody back? And if so, who? Could it be, we don't know, I guess. But it looks like it won't be Chukwuemeka. But they've got to have somebody, right? They've got to have somebody. They've got to have somebody that we can take, and somebody realistic, not like Cole Palmer or anything like that. That's not going to happen. Didn't he sign like a 7-year extension? We can't just buy Palmer. Pedro Neto. Sterling. Yeah. Yeah, I know I would like to get Madueke. Right, so they were probably offering him on a loan, Chukwuemeka. That was my understanding earlier as well. Is that the most they would offer us is a loan in return for Sancho on Chukwuemeka. Which it makes sense why we wouldn't want to do that. All right. Well, we're gonna have to wait and see, but yeah, I think as it stands, I don't think it's for sure that Sancho leaves yet. I don't think United are pushing him out the door. They would still prefer. Yeah, he's contracted for 9 years. Like, holy shit. I don't think they're forcing him out. I think they would still prefer a permanent obligation in here. I'm curious to see if they end up bending on that and accepting a straight loan. They're still interested in potentially if there's a player that could come the other way to them, that would work. But I think their ideal scenario in all of this would be, if they do that, that it's if they do that, that it's somebody, that it'd be permanent both ways, that there's actually something they could get. So who knows? Who knows? Deadline day. There's things change, people compromise, all sorts of stuff happens. So I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's up to them. They're in these discussions, right? I think a lot of this is kind of like just the vein around it, but I'm sure they're in these discussions now about what's happening, what they want, what they could do. So if something comes out, I'll go live again a little bit later and we can talk about it and we can get in it because I got to work. I got to do some things and hopefully I'll get some things done so I can be ready to just hop back on if I get any news or if anything comes out. I mean, with how quick things come out, I doubt I'll get something before, like, you know, anybody. But we'll get on. We'll talk about it if anything does come out. Or if we're ready to announce Ugarte or something, then I'll come back on and we'll talk about it then too. So thank you all for hanging out with me this morning. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. I'll give my voice a rest. And then loan with... Wait, hold on, Mitch. Is that true? No way. That's it. That sounds like bait. That sounds like bait. That sounds like bait. Okay. That sounds like bait to me. But yeah, we'll see. Bye for now. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Stop. It wasn't bait. Mitch was right. It is updated. Talks between the clubs are advanced over a loan with an obligation to buy. There you go. David Ornstein. Hang on. Here we go. This is good. This is good news. Let's put it up. Boom. Look right here. Talks between the clubs. Mitch was correct. Talks between the clubs are advanced over a loan with obligation to buy. That's the key. That's the key right there. There it is. That's what we wanted. The permanent. That's what United stance was. Thank you, Mitch. Sorry I didn't believe you at first. I updated it like 3 times and it didn't show. Thank you, Mitchell. Talks between the clubs are advanced over a loan with an obligation to buy. Thank you, buddy. Just before we ended. So that's what we wanted. Because that's been United's stance all summer. So I was hoping they don't change that. That's what they want all along. A loan with obligation to buy, we're good. I don't care if we get a player back. That's perfect. Let's take it. Let's take that. That was awesome. That's fine with me. You know, that's fine with me. That gets the money off. That gets the wages off. That gets us a profit likely on next year. Oh yeah, he tweeted again. Initial loan with obligation to buy next summer. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Would provide the permanent solution. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, let's see. Let's see what comes out of this meeting. Then. Let's see where we go. So we'll see if that obligation comes through, and then we'll see if there's any players, and then I'll hop back on once we have a conclusion on all of this, okay? Thank you all for watching. I got to get to work. I will see you all a little bit later, okay? Enjoy the rest of your days. I will come back one way or another later on today and hang out with you all some more. All right. Enjoy your day.